Right, greetings everybody and welcome to another video. It is I, Umber Rays, looking a little fancy today just because it's a busy week for me. It's a matter of fact, a massive week for me. Not talking about Wotv, not talking about anything other than the fact that I have something major happening in my life. A good thing. And maybe I'll just leave it at that. Be a little bit mysterious for now. I don't know, maybe if people beg me enough, I'll tell them. I don't think well, you never know. Maybe they do care. All right, so talking about Wotv this week. Wotv has a massive update with 2 characters, 2 vision cards, a upgrade to Veritas of the Bolt, some kind of Grifford thing, maybe, and as well as some upgrade to some reliquaries. So there's, a few things to talk about. And if we just take a look here, well, what the heck is going on? Is this what I think it is? No. It can't just be that, can it? Well, they're really trying to get people to spend, aren't they? If it's basically, hey, 2K paid, have a 120 nickel on us. I'm not even joking. If we go over to the shop here and just take a peek, well, let's just scroll right on down into here. You can't buy this character. I'm not even joking. He is just, if you want him, 2K paid, which is about a pretty cheap deal, which is more than a little suspicious, and we'll talk about it in a bit. We also have Dark Veritas to get through and, the Halloween vision cards and all of that. So there's a lot. There's a lot. And for the sake of my own sanity, we're going to start talking about just Nichol today, and we'll get into Dark Veritas in the next video, and I'll try and get through content as fast as my body will actually basically allow me at this point. So starting off with Nichol, which is our target of today. Nichol, 70 cost, water elemental character, not limited at all. According to Wotv Calc, he's not limited, and I believe it. None of the other FFB characters have been limited, so why would this guy? Looking at his Trust Mastery, we are looking at a piece of clothing, 520 HP, 60 defense, 12 spirit, 12 critical evade, with a TMR skill double use. Larger AoE pattern here for buffing. Increase defense and spirit by 25 for 4 turns for allies. Grants the following effect of decreasing defense and spirit penetration by 20 when an attack hits. Kind of interesting. Don't know if I super like it yet, but it seems okay. I'm not strictly opposed to it. Now, I do understand how thirsty some of you are for this, so here you go. We're downloading Limit Burst now. Holy cow, a water unit with a water limit burst. Oh wait, it's not fire. Or ice, I should say. But yeah, here you go. There is the long-awaited limit burst. It looks pretty damn cool. It looks pretty neat. So great. Now let's head over and see if we can actually take a peek-see at the friend unit. Because with these updates, sometimes it just doesn't happen. But hey, there he is. Perfect. Thanks so much for going smoothly. So taking a peek with this more physical-based party, we can take a look at this character as being about 12k HP, 1400 magic, 8 defense, 22 spirit, 55 accuracy, 121 speed with the Hermes sandals, but no Trust Mastery runes, so maybe that balances out. 62 for single target resistance and 10 for AoE. Talking about where some of these stats are coming from, Master ability decreases skill activation time and increases fire resistance for himself. Dream ability increased accuracy by 15, single target resistance by 15, and magic damage up by 10 for him. So that's all well and good. Looking at resistances, basically anti-magic, anti-slash, anti-pierce, and not so great at the other two. Very strong against fire, not so great, and okay against water, and everything else is neutral. Taking a look at status effect resistance, 75 and 75 for these two, and 10% curse. I don't hate it. I don't think it's absolutely amazing, but it's generally pretty nice. So let's let it slide. And now talk about skills. So he does have 2 special support skills in his kit. The first one is a magic increase of 24%, as well as AoE resistance penetration by 40, so it's undispellable, and decreasing skill activation time. Now this gets upgraded into his EX to also be a 40 magic attack resistance penetration, which is generally good enough, I think, to give him a bit of a power boost. Interestingly though, his other one that we are looking at here is a increase skill target resistance by 12, or single target resistance, skill target resistance, single target resistance by 12, as well as decreasing activation time by 400 for 6 turns from the start of battle. 6 turns is a long time. It's listed in here as 5, but actually on Wotv Calc it's actually listed as 6, so I don't know if there's a little bit of whatever going on, but I guess it just doesn't maybe count the first turn in that sense. Anyway, it does mean that he is going to have incredibly short times, and he is going to get worse as the battle goes on without any kind of upgrade. As for his other support skills, he only has 1 from the Spellblade, which is magic and fire resistance, which isn't great. And as for Scholar, it's the, Arithmetician, I should say. It's the level 3 and level 4, so not having a speed support skill is a little bit concerning. Maybe a little bit more than a little bit. Might mean that he trails behind, and that could generally be good for a 70 cost character, or it might be just really bad. Looking at his counter, the new counter is a chance to counter all damage with increasing HP for allies. So it's an actual AoE heal on his counter. Kind of interesting, good providing that he can actually keep up in pace with other characters, and that curse doesn't kind of just ruin your day, which is definitely a possibility. Now, looking at his sub-jobs, Arithmetician is basically the stuff that you would expect, large AoEs in terms of healing, as well as inflicting disable and dealing damage, you know, that whole spiel, which is generally pretty nice. I mean, it's great for people who are farming and just want those fast attacks. Seems fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. And they're kind of nice because he does have just AoE resistance penetration naturally built into his kit, which means that his attacks will hit pretty hard, pretty guaranteed for a newer type unit. As for Spellblade, Fire Killer, increased chance of being targeted, which I can't imagine you would want, and mostly just short range. Other than magic resistance and increasing spare for allies, I cannot see much of a case of why you would want Spellblade to be run over something else. Speaking of which, let's talk about this subpart of his main job. You can select up to 2 targets for 185 while also decreasing bravery by 30 for 3 turns. Bravery modifiers are pretty rare, and as you can see on the range on it, actually has pretty good range. So this might be actually amenable to using Arithmetician and that being his only option. Decreasing bravery might be just the edge to get you a win, as opposed to some other teams. As for this ability, we are looking at 200% chance for magic damage increase of 15% for 4 turns, as well as increasing reaction block rate by 100 for 4 turns. It's a basic damage increase and reaction buff, which kind of pushes him more towards DPS. Depends if his DPS can get there, but it is pretty nice in terms of a support skill of powering him up first. As for the rest of his kit, the main part, we have a damage dealer where if he kills a target, he gets an HP heal. Nice. This ability, increase single target resistance by 30 for 4 turns for self. When HP drops below 50%, cast a ability that is basically just, HP restoral, that kind of thing. But nice thing about this ability is that we are getting 2 uses out of it. So it can be used multiple times, which is pretty good. And grants the following effect: when an attack hits, decreases magic attack for 4 turns. Not bad in a mage-dominated meta. Not super great in a physical meta, but does provide him with some auto healing. Next support skill: increase critical evasion by 30 for 4 turns for self and allies, slash attack resistance and magic resistance by 30% each, with a 200% chance for auto revive for himself, and increases physical distance-based resistance from a range of 4 to 8, with a minimum of 3, maximum of 6 for 4 turns. So it is a bunch of survivability stuff on this for himself and some others. He gets auto revive. I mean, this is generally enough of a good buff for him to run at the start of battle, so I think it's okay. Next ability here, Dispel. Magic distance base resistance, 220 odd on it. Automatically casts another ability herself, and a 25% chance to inflict stun. I like the stun on this just because if it's on one of his abilities that he would generally be using a lot of the time, and with a high mod, it's not terrible. It does have casting time, but we can kind of mitigate that between support skills, which doesn't seem like he has too much flexibility with, and just putting a good Esper on him that helps with that. We can probably get it down to pretty close to instant, but it might limit you a little bit on who you are partnering this character with. As for our next one, this is an ability that does get an upgrade, so a 220 mod on our X-based pattern attack. Shout out to Mega Man X. 30% chance of hit, so slightly higher accuracy on this ability. Casts the secondary follow-up ability, absorbs damage done to targets, dispels haste, and increases single target resistance penetration by 30 for 3 turns. Or single target resistance penetration. No, I said that right. And it is a multi-hitter. So there is some good stuff, and the secondary ability that we're getting off of this is the AP heal, as well as the CT boost for our opponent. So if we're getting, or not opponent, but our allies, sorry. This is just generally nice. Taking a look at the AP recovery, it's actually 15 AP, and it shows you how AP regeneration has gotten a little bit better over the time. And 15 AP is nice. 15 AP is the difference between using maybe a little bit lower quality of ability and using an actual great ability or limit burst. You can see a lot of cases where this would be helpful, maybe not necessarily to Nichol, but to another character that he is partnered with. And our job level 25 ability, decrease spirit by 38 for 3 turns for targets. Dispel ignore fatal damage for targets. 220 mod on this, and decreases healing power by 50 for 3 turns. So basically Nichol just says, hey, you're not healing. I am. So it. Anyway, so yeah, there's, I think, a lot of interesting stuff in his kit. Nichol is pretty well support while dealing damage, which is pretty good. If you're going to be doing some DPS and maybe mid-tier DPS at 70 cost, if you're doing a bunch of support for stronger characters, that's kind of maybe that sweet spot. Nichol might be relegated more towards limited cost stuff, but I could see a case where a lot of these support-based style abilities could mean the difference between winning and losing in the current meta that JP has. Looking at his limit burst, decrease water resistance by 38% for 3 turns, 240 mod, decrease magic attack by 50 for 3 turns for targets, and decrease agility by 20%. That agility cut is not relevant, and it could maybe even be more interesting than we're giving it credit for if you were to somehow find a really good way of combining this character with someone like Ramza, where you can just really outspeed with a powerful limit burst, knocking down the agility of your opponents. Then Rams's speed boost triggering and making it so that you get extra turns in. Kind of a tempo-based team could be really possible between decreasing speed and increasing CT for yourself. I could definitely see a case for it, although it's probably not very likely. Either way, there are some cost-limited parties that I think will be very happy to have Nichol in the game. And there is something weird going on here where essentially, there's something suspicious in how easily accessible he is. And more importantly, how easily accessible a full 120 character is. I don't care what anniversary is going on. Screw that. That's not a good enough reason. But you can also see that the VC does have a similar pattern, but we'll talk about the VC a little bit later so that this video doesn't go on too long. So thank you so much for watching this. We'll do a test of Nichol when we come back and see if he's worth it. Later.